Hello, everybody. Welcome to this session interview with Danny Jalil. Danny Jalil majored in multimedia arts and studied creative writing and screenwriting at LaSalle SIA College of the Arts. His short film Spun was nominated for a Merits Prize at the National University of Singapore Student Union Inter-Tertiary Video Festival. His novel The Machine Boy was winner of the National Arts Council's Beyond Words Young and Younger Award. He published a few graphic novels by Asia Pac Books and recently Enrique The Black by Penguin Books. So welcome, Danny. Thank you for joining us. I'm so excited about this conversation.
Game to go here. The only thing I need to show is the book, I guess.
And right. Yeah, this is the book, right? So this is the book.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So, so to start off with, maybe you can just tell us a bit about how you started to write, and how old were you when you were interested in seriously writing and actually triggered you to write film and fiction as well?
It wasn't a aha moment, but I guess even way back in primary school, I was the worst at everything except English. So yeah, the teachers kept saying, you're quite good at composition, but you're failing at everything. What's wrong with you? That was my whole life story. From primary school to secondary school. Yeah, I basically failed at everything except English. So and even during classes, people looked up to me for like English composition. Like, how do I write better? Like, I don't know, you just write. That was about it. Yeah, the pivotal moment was I attended this school called it's not called LaSalle College of the Arts, but previously it was called LaSalle SIA College of the Arts, right? I had this teacher creative writing teacher called Sanjay Pereira. Yeah, every class, right? I dropped in almost, a lot of his classes, even though they weren't mine. I just dropped in when I was free. Yeah, that's how good he was. I just wanted to listen to him talk and talk and talk. He really brought out like my idea to write fiction. Yeah, and I wrote my first attempt at a novel when I was like 18 or 19, thereabouts, yeah. All horrible, but yeah, that's where I started.
That sounds very impressive, 18 and 19, right? Okay, there's a few questions, obviously, because looking at the range of books that you've written and stuff, we're interested in your background and the illustrations, of course, your background in history as well. But before we even go there, what makes you want to write this particular book? What is it that inspires you?
I think, part of that was answered in the forward and in the epilogue. Yeah. So there's this book called Malay Weddings Don't Cost $50. It's by this author named Hidayah Amin. Yeah. It details like stuff about Malay culture, and right at the end of it, there was a little mention, a little paragraph, and a little drawing about this particular character. Right. He's called Panglima Awang in certain circles, in Malay circles. Panglima Awang, roughly translated, means like young Malay warrior chap, right? Awang is the name of a standard like hero guy. His name like John or James or Joe, whatever. Yeah, Panglima means warrior. So that was that version of the story, and that's the one most Malay people know. I didn't know it at first, so I had to read about it, and the more I read up about him, the more fascinated I got, and I ended up trying to write a book about him, and there you go.
Yeah. So that the natural question is that you are obviously very interested in the local history, right? Like, what are the local events and local characters and local heroes, and obviously you do read about these people on a regular basis. How easy it is, do you think, to find materials on the early history of this region? Is this something that started from like school days when you take history, or is this?
Oh no! Again, the answer is going to be I was a horrible student. I failed at history. But I think if you are interested in something, no matter how bad you were in school or whatever, you just try to soak up, So I was trying to soak up all I could about this particular character. Yeah, so I found out, most of it was from the Ferdinand Magellan Portuguese history. Yeah, so that was the starting point. And then I kept doing more and more research about this particular character. Yeah, which was very hard to find because he's mentioned in like a name in a paragraph, a single sentence in a whole book, that kind of thing. So it's very hard to dig up stories about or factual evidence about him. Yeah.
So to be honest, I have totally a wrong idea of what history can be and what it is. I remember that during the secondary school days, history is one of those subjects that you have to like memorize facts and a lot of very technical, boring stuff that you have to, because the very
True.
serious scholars will look at some flower vase or some artifacts and tell you about this period, and
Right.
then I would remember the question asking me about Alexander the Great, right? So it so happened that I remember nothing about him except that he's probably some character that has conquered a lot of places in Europe and some parts of
Right.
Asia and so on. And then the whole thing was, imagine my whole answer was a you know, total construct of what I thought this character should be if he is such a great conqueror, that kind of thing. And it really surprised
Right.
me because of the single question which I know nothing about, I was given like 14 and a half out of 15 marks. So it's almost like full marks out of. So you can imagine how totally mistaken I was about what history should be. But anyway,
Right.
it's nice to know that if you're interested in something as an adult, that you can really do something about it and go so far. Um, so the real characters, right? Can I ask whether how do you get to their thought processes, like Anand Saidi, where when he said that, about where the enemies are expected to come from and that kind of thing, right? Is this something that you
Right.
imagine, or is this from
Uh,
your readings?
if you write anything with fiction, it's supported better with fact, you know. So I did read like a lot of like just tactical stuff. Like I mean, in the story, say like I was reading real facts about what happened in the war, how they planned and everything. So I just kind of like from that particular fact, you kind of imagine what was going to happen afterwards, you know. So yeah, it's not 100% imagination. It's like 80% fact, 20% imagination, I guess. Yeah.
So you kind of imagine yourself in that place and put yourself in the shoes of those people.
I guess so, yeah. But yeah, like I said, I was reading about the facts, and you just try to put yourself in the mind of that person at that particular point in time. Yeah, it might be wrong, but like, that's the best that I could come up with at that time when I was writing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you see the various other books that you've written, right, also has some detail or more nuanced description of the historical characters. Like it seems to be a
Mhm.
theme across many of the books, like Elizabeth Troy and the war heroine and all that. Is that something
Mhm.
intentional, or it's just out of your own personal curiosity and interest that you go for these kind of heroes and heroines?
I guess yeah, because when you're well, at least for this kind of characters like Annan and Elizabeth Choi, those were actually for hire stuff, right? Yeah, I was hired by Asia Pac to write.
Okay,
That was recommended by my other friend. Yeah,
okay.
Zaki Rahman, he's an artist. Right, yeah,
Okay.
he said, yeah, I have this writer guy, but as it turns out, right, when I write Enrique, I realized there's a pattern to the way I write. I keep writing biopics basically.
Right, right. It
Yeah, which is
helps
very
to know
odd.
many of these
Yeah.
graphics artists that that recommended, right, you
Yeah,
to
well, not not
yeah.
not so many, just that one friend. Yeah, but he had good connection, so I was lucky.
Okay, so how about the maritime stories? Because when I read about the Enrique the Black, right, there's a lot of exploring the high seas and like going around the world and stuff like that. Is that one of
Hmm.
your interests as well?
Actually, no, but
Mhm.
well, I had my grand uncle was a sailor, but like uncles, grand uncles, they had maritime careers. My father worked in a shipyard, so I've been on certain shipyards. Like I think my father brought me to Malaysia on a boat, but I had no aspirations to like man the sails and all that stuff. Yeah, I was too much of a city boy
Yeah,
for that. Yeah, but I've been
yeah.
around these places, so maybe it's kind of absorbed into my head. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess in this part of the world, especially right in Singapore, you would expect that if you go far enough, there are many people involved in the ports and that type of ports or some some
Right.
some kind of activities that's related to sailing and trading and also the sailing maybe, right.
Yeah.
So
Perhaps. Yeah.
yeah. So the other thing is I'm very interested in the multicultural aspect of it. So this book especially also explored quite
Right.
a bit of that, right? Yeah. So that's also a recurring theme in your books.
You hit the nail right there. Yeah. I think a lot of my stories, even I had this science fiction book called The Machine Boy.
Uh-huh.
It's set in 19th century Singapore. So there's the British, there's the Malays, there's the Chinese, there's all this multicultural stuff, right? So it's always like even Enrique himself, he's well, at least in my story, he's a Malay Muslim boy yanked away, converted to Christianity, and right. So it's always multicultural stuff. Yeah. So maybe I'm just fascinated by that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
my family, no, even my family itself, there's a lot of mixed marriages, like interracial marriages. So maybe that's why I'm slightly interested in that. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
Is your family very encouraging in your writing career?
Yeah, I have an auntie who's like who's always supportive. My sister's supportive, but in the opposite way. She's like I liken her to myself being Rocky, and she's like the old coach at the corner. When you go right, if he goes right, you go left, right. He's like screaming out orders at me and being so harsh to me, but in the best way possible.
Are they
Yeah.
are they also first readers with your books, or you try to show them first, or you try to show others first? Or what is
My elder sister, yeah, like I said, she's like the old coach in Rocky, right? Yeah, she's maybe she won't read the whole thing, but yeah, I'll read out to her some passages, and she said, "This is horrible, that's horrible, blah blah blah." Yeah, I have so many that's horrible comments before it gets any good.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So my sister mainly, yeah.
Yeah, it's good to know that it's good to know that some family behind us as well, right? So
Yes.
I like to ask a few questions regarding the writing process. Although you write largely to your own your own passion and whatever you feel strongly about, at the same time you also have to consider which reader you're targeting, what is your audience, and what is your ideal audience of your book, that kind of questions, right? In your case, right, can I ask,
Right.
so are you targeting people in this region, readers here, or much more international audience? And the exact audience, right, like of course, like if you target certain adults and all that, unlike younger readers, then of course it will determine the level of violence and the language use and so on. So in your case
Right.
is your ideal audience, and at what stage do you actually decide that these are the people that I'm writing for? Is it after you
Right.
finish most of it?
You are speaking specifically about the current novel, Enrique, right?
Yes, but if you want to expand, we can go beyond that.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'll talk about
Yeah.
Enrique. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have any target audience when I was writing it.
Okay.
But I think that becomes more of a marketing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because maybe I'm wrong, but if you limit the exact audience that you're writing for, then it limits your creative capacity.
Mhm.
I feel, but I know that's just my opinion on it. Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, I guess choosing a target audience is more of a marketing decision. At least on the first draft. Yeah.
Mm. How about
Yeah. But then
subsequent
when
drafts?
you try
Yeah.
to yes, I was
Yeah.
about to get into that. Yeah, the
Yeah.
subsequent drafts. Yeah, then maybe you can be more focused and on what you write. Yeah, so you can pull back a little bit. Once you know, we're writing for kids, then you kind of self-censor too much. That's just my opinion. I never really think about target audience until I'm done with at least the first draft.
The graphics novel that you were to write or invited to write
Mm-hmm.
for, did they
Right.
tell you that this is meant for younger readers in this region, or
Oh
what?
yes. Yeah, that was specific for because Asia Pac Asia Pac books. What they do is they do educational books
Yeah.
for kids. So that was very specific, but I didn't really say like, oh, this is for 10 and under or 12 and above or whatever. Just a general whoever likes it, because if you read Lieutenant Annan, we tried to have some violent scenes at the end, but depicted in a very not too graphic way, no blood or whatever, but there's the suggestion of violence rather than the actual depiction of gore. Yeah, there's a very fine line, but yeah, my artist Zakir Rahman did that very well.
Right, yeah. I mean, I heard so
think.
much about
Yeah.
how you have to. I mean, if you're writing for the graphics novels, you have to really collaborate so much, right, with the artist, because even the panel, how the
Yes.
panels and how many panels also dictate how the pacing of that thing as well, right? It's not just it's
Perfect.
not
Yes.
just chapters and all that. Yeah. So
Exactly. Yeah.
that's fascinating. Yeah, I mean, I think you really very varied background. I think you have film, and then
Thanks.
you have doing. I guess that you feel all this influences on the way you write, right?
Oh,
Just
for
background.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I guess no matter what kind of writer you are, you're always watching everything like comics, movies, films, books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and everything in between. So yeah,
Mm.
God knows what else in the future, right?
Yeah, I know, but
Holograms and stuff.
it's so easy to think like, oh, okay, let's watch more movies, and it's a very good excuse, for not writing sometimes. You go to
I'm doing my
Netflix.
research.
So easy to press
Yeah.
something, right? Yeah, search keywords and all
Yeah.
that. So sorry, I was very curious about something, because as writers, right, we're always interested about narrative choices and stuff like that, right? So the story is a lot from Enrique the Black. The story is a lot from the protagonist, but I know it's omniscient, because switching to Magdalene at some other points and some other views, right, at some other parts of the story. So did you decide on these narrative choices right at the outset, or are these just the ways of telling story that comes naturally, because some scenes, some parts of the stories, protagonist not there, so you just have to switch.
Yeah, I think more like the second one.
Okay.
Yeah, like even when you watch a movie, I just want to see something point of view. Like there's a lot of like first person novels. Haruki Murakami likes to write a lot of those. Like even let me see now. Fitzgerald, he wrote Great Gatsby mainly from one person's point of view, but he's commenting on the Gatsby character. Yeah, but not to say it's good or bad. It's just that my own way of looking at stories is I prefer to have that multiple perspective. It kind of makes the story grander rather than just focus from one person's point of view.
Right.
Yeah, but that's just me.
Interesting. Is it because you are quite panoramic? Like if you're doing a graphics novel, it's you kind of have to be quite on the exterior, right? Because you cannot have all monologues in a graphic novels. Although you can have a big bubble, a lot of it has to be quite action driven. The other thing is that Enrique is character, the obvious, to me at least, is a very obvious maturation arc. When writing this book, right, did you outline this arc first to some extent, or do you just write by what they call the seats of the pens? Is it dictated by all these events and secondary characters, or is it something you all plotted out first? That's
actually a bit of both. I don't know if you know, I think fantasy author called Brad Sanderson. He has a whole series on YouTube.
Brandon Sanderson.
He calls people who write by the seat of their pants pantsers.
Yeah.
Right. You're either a planner or a pantser or something. That's what he said. So kind of a bit of both, because I had the basic structure, because if you're writing a historical thing, or at least based on a real person, my habit is to find a timeline, like from what year to what year this happens, and then try to fit in the story within this particular real life events. Right. So Enrique started in 1511. His story in the book ended in 1521. So what happens between that time and exactly which specific month and year and all that. So yeah, I was very fussy about the timeline, and then within that timeline, I had to decide what to keep, because there's so much research. Right, you're like, oh, I could add this, I could add that, and that's why I went through I think eight or nine drafts at the end.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Right. Yeah. It's so much work.
So yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? You said 8 and 9 drafts. Reading through this book, right? The last quarter in particular, right? The last quarter, the pace and condense into this part. In other words, there's a lot more going on. Is this something that happens in a later draft, or you think all along like you wanted this so-called third act or whatever to be like this? Yeah.
I think, so long ago, in fact, I can't really remember too well, but I don't have it with me now. I had a whole notebook somewhere where I had, it's like something like this, right? But like with all little squares I drew inside.
Oh.
Yeah, each square represented like a plot point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I actually had, I had the whole thing mapped out basically. Like I said, from timeline, right? So I figured, this time of this life, this happened, this time that happened, all the way till the end. And then every time you write a new book, right, it's always a different beast, right? Like a different animal. Like, so this particular animal is difficult to tame. I didn't write it chronologically.
Yeah.
I wrote it like whichever. I tried to write chronologically at first, but it became a bit boring. So to excite myself, I wrote in out of sequence, and then I piece it together afterwards. So I remember, right, there's a particular time I wrote all the ending, especially the scenes were lapu-lapu at the end. Yeah. Those fights.
I want to ask, something again about the crisis moment, so-called. So, I mean, I don't want to give spoilers and stuff, but something happened to Magdalene in the end, towards the end. And this is, obviously the cause of this, his death is known because of the historical, the text and so. So I'm just curious to know, right? This ending, is this something like you started from, like what John Truby said about, if you got the ending and you write towards it, it's just, it's just part of the plot, right? You just you write to the end. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Can I just want to put one aside. I love John Truby. I bought his book. Actually, I can't remember, but I think you might be right though. Because it's been a while, right? Like I said previously, I spent a lot of time writing the lapu-lapu battles at the end, especially like you said, Magellan's fate, right? If you don't have spoilers here, so Magellan's fate, and even that, right? I had to go through a few drafts because I wasn't aware of the nature of his injuries, or like whether he was like attacked by a sword or a spear, or whether it was hit in this leg or that leg. You know, I had to be very specific at the end because I wasn't sure. So I had to keep digging and digging. Yeah, yeah.
Mm, mm.
And then from there again, I extracted the emotional core of it. Which is the after that, after what happened to Magellan, the conversation with Lapu Lapu and Enrique, right at the
Yeah,
end. Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, again, scene then emotional core. It's always that. Yeah.
yeah. There's also some, like religious themes, right, in that book, because
Right.
I see that there are people getting baptized, and like the eating of the pork discuss the Enrique in the beginning. And are these part of, like, do you treat them as just part of the setting, or a reflection of who Magellan is, as a fanatic? How he condones the sexual relationships, right, between the sailors and then the young girls, but then not homosexuality. He cannot tolerate homosexuality at all. Yeah.
Yeah. A bit of both actually. A bit of both what you said. Yeah. Well, I don't know him personally, but like he seemed to be that way. But he was a very staunch religious man. Yeah, and that was part of my theme actually. So like actually the whole emotional core of Enrique was like if you convert to another religion, does that make you a different person? I don't have the answer for that, but that's what fascinated me about Enrique. He's react from his home, taken thousands of miles away, goes around the world, follows this other man who's like a surrogate father, but also a slave master. How does that affect you as a person? Yeah. So yeah, all kinds of things were running through my head when I was writing it. So those were very definite and specific, and yeah, I wanted it in the book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I can imagine, right, after 8 or 9 drafts and all this multiple myriad ideas, and which one to emphasize and which ones to like thin out in the end. And it's a really remarkable things that writers go through, actually, right, to be able to sculpt out all that at the end and decide
Yes.
what to leave out.
Yes.
So maybe it'll be interesting to know, right, since you also live in Singapore as well, about writing life. And so you have a full-time career outside writing. So how do you how do you find time at all to write? I mean, like, do you like try to force yourself to say that I have to write a certain number of words a day, or?
Yes. Last month or two, I think I completed another book, separate story, but yeah, I just completed another book, and then I felt a bit lost actually. Because I put the book aside, then I was like, I have nothing to do. There's so much struggle and pain, and even that new book, I wrote at least 4 or 5 drafts off, right? So again, so much work, right? But after I'm done with all the work, I'm like, what am I gonna do? Right? So I was like kind of like in a funk for about a month or two, and then I decided to write again. And then the only thing I realized I needed was I don't know if you could see this, but like a calendar kind of thing. I don't know if you can see
Mm,
my yeah.
mm,
So basically, it's a calendar book, right?
mm,
Or yeah, I have all kinds of calendar books. So what I did was like, because I have a work like a normal full-time job, right? So I need to write like, well, I can't write too many words per day because I'm exhausted. I can only dedicate maybe an hour or two a day at most to write. So I have personal target of like 500 words a day, right? And then
okay.
I calculate, like, okay, day one, yeah, day one 500 words, day two will be 1,000 words, right? So I literally write it down on a piece of paper, or now on my iPad or whatever, right? So
I
yeah,
see.
yeah. So like yeah, so today 500, tomorrow 1,000, next day 1,500, and so on. Right? You map out the calculation till the end of the month, and then
Right.
another important thing I found out was like really schedule a rest day. There's one time I wrote a draft of one book, right, and I really was like, oh, I have to hit this deadline, and I had no rest days, right, and then I fell sick. Really suffering for your art, right? Yeah, so I
Yeah.
felt sick. So it's like, okay, you got to plan a rest day as well. Yeah.
Uh-huh,
So
uh-huh.
even if you don't hit that rest day, right? Even if on the rest day you're working, then you like kind of like say, okay, maybe instead of resting today, I'll rest tomorrow. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So you make up
yeah,
for it. So some days if you have less, productivity, and then another day you try to make up for it, and
yeah. Or
come
some
up to
days you're
about the
really
same.
inspired, you write more than your actual
Yeah, yeah,
more than your actual
yeah,
plan, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, instead of writing 500, I read maybe 1,000 or 1,500 words today, and like wow, I'm ahead of 2 days.
That's
Yeah,
sensible.
so the next day you're like, oh, okay, I can relax now. I can watch Netflix without feeling guilty. I feel writer's guilt. Like if I don't write, I'm wasting my life away.
And you find that using like pen and pencil, like calendars and like you said just now about even plotting, you prefer to use paper and little bits of cards on a board rather than using special software, like plotting software and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I know how to use those. Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I used to draw, like I said, like little squares. Right? Every little square on a notebook is like a plot point or something, So yeah,
Do
it's
you
so I have hundreds of squares. Yeah.
do you sketch out scenes since you are into also sketching
Uh,
and
not really, but I do sketch up characters though.
oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I scenes, no, scenes are a bit too daunting because like then you kind of turn it into a comic book. So yeah, I
Yeah,
don't really want to do
yeah,
that. Yeah, so I
yeah.
draw characters just to get an idea of how they are. And then from there I draw, like, let's say I draw someone that looks like you, right? Like Louis Tong, right? Then I was like, okay, so this character will have like glasses, and I kind of like incorporate the drawing into the actual
Uh-huh.
fiction.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. So
right.
if you have 8 or 9 drafts in a novel like this Enrique the Black, right? How long did you actually take
Mm.
to arrive at that point when you are ready to submit? I mean, from the point where you
Uh,
started the first word.
uh, yeah. Well, I wrote in late. I remember it's December 2015 was when I first started drawing the little boxes. So yeah, around 2016 I wrote. Then 2017 I tried to submit for a fiction prize. I got rejected. Sent for it twice actually, so rejected again and again.
So 5 years
But
at least. Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
they kept rejecting, and they said, "Oh, this is what's wrong with your book." No, rejection is a good thing actually. So if you take it constructively, you say, "Oh, these are what's wrong. These are the things that are wrong with my book. How do I fix it?" Right. So I kept fixing it over and over and over again until it was done. And then I think in 2020 I submitted to Penguin. So
Right.
or,
Right.
yeah, or maybe 2019, something like that. I can't remember. Yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah, yeah.
So, you are also an illustrator, and online we always read about, especially the indie publishing and people who hire their own, like graphic designers, their own book cover designers and stuff. How
Right.
do you have anything to give some advice about, like, if you're given 2 or 3 options to choose from and stuff like, how do you determine which is the right the right elements for a particular book? Is there any,
Right.
you have some guidelines on that? Or-
You mean like for the cover or for
Yeah, cover. I'm just saying in indie and self-publishing.
or
So let's say, yeah,
you mean it's for self-publishing?
let's say given 2 or 3 options, right? How would you usually determine? You think that based on you think how engaging it is for the potential audience or something like that?
If we talk about self-publishing, then I guess like you have free reign a little bit. Yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
can choose whatever you want. Yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
it's always good to have like a kind of direction and art direction.
But you did yourself this one, right? This particular
There's
this
Penguin was nice enough. They said,
yeah,
do you have any idea of what cover you want? So I just sent that particular illustration which you see on the cover. I said I
right.
want it to look something like this, right?
Right. So
I
that
never
is
imagined my art would be published. But
right.
yeah, that was on the
So
cover. Yeah, so that was nice.
that was at what stage you sketched this? When you're writing it, or is this at the point when you already accepted and
Uh,
what? When you do the
oh
sketch? I mean,
no. Oh when? Oh yeah, just in between. And
okay,
in fact,
okay.
it wasn't even meant for Enrique. It was meant for something else. I was just thinking about
Oh,
another story. I was just sketching it for fun. And then I was like,
okay,
you know what?
okay, okay.
This
Wow.
this thing is evocative of what I want the cover to look like. So I
Right.
sent it, and I was just lucky. So of course I was like hitting the cloud. Oh, my book, my own
Yeah.
art is on my own book. Yay! So happy. Yeah, so
Yeah,
happy.
yeah. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
The sword is there around, right? I think the ceremonial sword is quite sort of an important theme in
Yeah,
your book as
because
well.
I was
Yeah,
thinking of some other fantasy book I was trying to write with
yeah,
like Malay culture. So like yeah, I just drew that and then it became something else.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, secrets
So
out. Yeah,
you were saying just now that you do the competition a few times and then after that you went for the Penguin books, right? At what
right.
point you decide that you want to submit directly to Penguin and instead of finding an agent or
Oh
most
yeah.
people do overseas, yeah.
Yeah, but at least in Singapore the market's very small, so you don't actually need an agent. You can just approach a publisher directly.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Penguin was because one thing. Around the 2018, 2019, they announced in the papers that they opened shop in Asia, right?
Right,
So
right.
that was a good sign. So I
Wow.
just yeah. Then I I think at that time, I had another. I don't know whether you know him. There's a writer named Don Bosco. He also publishes in the Penguin. Yeah. So he said, hey, he had a book launch in I think 2019. I think, and he said, hey, why don't you meet Nora Nazrin? She's the I think associate publisher of Penguin. I think. Yeah. So yeah, I met her. Then I said, hey, I submitted this particular book. And it's like, yeah, I have it on the blacklist. And blacklist? I said, no, blacklist means is a good thing. Okay, okay. So at least like I tried to meet them in person. Yeah. So yeah, that was about it.
I see. So that's actually a Don invitation or a recommendation from Don, right?
Yeah, that's right. I
To
mean,
the
he gave
publisher.
me
Yeah.
I did send. Well, I think there's two ways, right? First, Don sent me, told me how to email them.
Yeah.
But I think now it's more open. Now there's a actual submissions thing email on their website. I think previously they probably wasn't there. I'm not too sure. But I just said hi. Don sent me this email. He recommended me to you. Blah blah blah. And then I didn't hear for. I sent it. I think I remember now. It's in March 2019. I think. Right. And then I only met the people at Penguin in September. That was during Don's book launch at the library. So Don said, hey, I can hook you guys up. Okay. So at least I met them. So at least I know who they are in person, right? Yeah. Then I only got contacted again in like I think March 2020. So it took a whole for the book to get published.
Right.
Very
Right.
glacial process, this publishing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now, of course, with the form, like I said, there could be thousands of submissions and stuff. Good.
Yeah, I think
sent
so.
to
Yeah.
them. Yeah. So, what is your experience with the editor there, right, at Penguin? You know, after the process of accepting it and all that, what is the collaborative process like? Like, there's a one guy assigned to you, or two guys, or what? What is it?
Yeah, there was a lady actually. Yeah, there was a lady named Amber Dawn. Amber Dawn was yeah. I never met her in person to be honest. I just met her through email. So everything was done by email. So
this COVID period, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, but let me think. About that, yeah, correct. I think so.
Yeah.
Around COVID period. So anyway, yeah. But even I had this other book called Machine Boy. That also was done mainly by email. Yeah, but they just send you.
Yeah.
You send your Microsoft Word usually, right? Then they'll send you back their version with like 1,000 red marks and comments. Then you have to like answer each one of them.
Like the comments on the word. So you have to like go to answer, say what you do to each. Whether you agree to change or not.
Hundreds of
right? Yeah.
That's right. Change, yes, and all that. Yeah.
So are you quite easy on these revisions? Because I know of some Singapore authors that really fight over every single full stop. Like they will say that no, when they are very very staunch about I want this comma here regardless of what the editor says and stuff like that. Are you that kind of author, or are you fairly negotiable kind of thing, and they don't want to change every comma? Yeah.
No, not too bad. They're quite nice about it. Mainly I think, well, the ones that gave me a lot of stress were the historical inaccuracies.
Oh,
it's like, hey, this didn't really happen. Oh shit. Then like, or maybe I said one thing in one paragraph or in one chapter, then I said something else in another paragraph. So I had to like make sure they matched again and again. Yeah, this is the problem of writing historical fiction, because that's my imagination and then there's the historical fact, right? So yeah, I have to keep matching that. That was the toughest part. But in terms of like style and everything, they weren't too fussy about it. Yeah. Then luckily a lot of the red marks were like comma, full stop, all that kind of small bits.
Yeah.
But yeah, it shouldn't be. Yeah, I just want to say a bit about that. Like I think when you are in the editing process, you shouldn't be too fussy or too but basically you should put your ego aside. And because I think everybody who's working on the book, like the editor, the publisher, whatever, I think they're trying their best to make the book as good as it should be before seeing print. Yeah. I think, yeah, I'm sure, of course, if they try to amend the basic story is a bit hard, but like all the basic little nitpicks, right? I think they're not too bad. So you just have to like keep listening and like yeah, like I said, just put your ego aside and hope for the not say hope for the best. It's going to be for the best. Yeah.
So does that establish like Amber Dawn, and do you think that maybe in your future is there any possibility that you want to approach these editors first and ask them whether they will take it? Because some editors have some say over their department, over what they take.
I don't know whether I have the power to request for her because I was assigned to her. So
Right.
I don't know for the next project if I get published again by
Right.
Penguin. I don't know whether I can request for them or they're just assigned to me. So
right.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So when you sign the contract with them, right? Then when you look at it, do you does it also say like how specifically are they going to help you market the book, or or it's quite in how clearly is it stated all this? What is it?
Well, they didn't have like a 10-step plan or whatever, but they just said they had the full. I mean, they will fully back my book and the marketing. So whatever that means, yeah.
I see.
Leave it up to them.
So it's kept in those terms. Yeah. Okay. Then do you need to go through? Did you have like a legal person who helped you, because you didn't go through an agent? Ask a legal, a friend or someone to look through the terms.
For myself, no, I don't know whether other people did. I just kept reading through they had a whole list of contracting before you sign. Yeah, I just kept reading the thing over and over again, and wondering what my rights were.
Yeah. Yeah. Does the right come back to you after a certain number of years, or?
I mean, the copyright itself is fine, but what I understand, because I don't want to be misquoting any contract, yeah, but like the book is owned by me. I mean, the story is owned by me. I think after a certain number of, like, maybe usually my previous book was 10 years, then you're able to like use it for other if I so choose to exercise the option. And that was a straight stance one. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Right.
But the only thing I could remember very well was I think there's this thing called the right of first refusal. Yeah, that means for my next project I got to go to them first, and then they have the right to say we don't want this project. Then I can take that book and shop it to other publishers. So my next book will be they have the right. I mean, they have the only right to see it before other people do.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. But the terms of years I can't remember. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I have one last question before I open up to the others as well. Like, what other advice? What advice do you have for people who are starting out right now, or even if you can advise yourself, like the younger version of yourself, like maybe 10, 15 years ago or whatever, first starting all this, right? What specific advice can you give?
Well, to my younger self, don't be a dumbass. just write. No, but seriously, like well, I don't know. You see, I don't know what is the exact age to like that the author matures, right? Like you could write when it's early. I've seen authors who publish when they're 16 or whatever. So I don't know what goes through their heads, right? They're probably really talented or mature or whatever for their age. But yeah, but I think the main thing for anything is to just keep writing. No matter who or what you are, just keep writing. Let me try to see. Yeah, write, rewrite. That is the main thing, and also read as many books as you can. Yeah, like you mentioned, John Truby. He was the one that wrote the 22 Steps of Storytelling or something like that, right?
Yeah, Anatomy Story, something in it.
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember right now, but yeah. Read those. Try to analyze story. Just have to keep writing. Don't be afraid. And there's two kinds of people, right? Like at least there's a guy that says, "Hey, I have this story in my head, right? I want to write this story about so and so," but then he hasn't written that yet, right? And then there's a second guy who doesn't say anything, but he's in at the cafe or this house at the computer somewhere. He's already written down a story. It may be bad, but that second person is going to be a better writer than that first person who just wants to write but hasn't done shit. Yeah, I have this other friend. His name is Jerome Hines. He's also a publisher. Where he told me, he's also like a mentor to me when I was younger. So he said like, I remember these very specific words, right? When I first started trying to write a full-length novel, right, I used these words, right? He just said to this effect, he said, out there in the world, right, there's somebody who's more talented than Stephen King, right? But Stephen King probably has more discipline, and he has more discipline to succeed, right? So those three words I used to write. In the old days, before we had Apple and iCloud or Samsung Cloud or whatever, I used to email my files to myself as a backup. right? And every time I emailed my file, I just put these 3 letters on the subject. DTS. This it stood for discipline to succeed. It was like my own mantra. DTS, DTS, discipline to
Yes.
succeed. So it just if you have that, you are set, and you just keep writing. Yeah, that's about it.
But anyone have anything to add? Maybe you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I have a question about the marketing. Have you done any marketing of the book for yourself? Because I met this local writer, and what he did was he went to schools to give talks related to his book, and then at the same time sold his books there. So it seems like a good idea.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention schools because I was fortunate enough to be approached by this company called Book a Writer. They are also part of Sinlit Station. They it's actually through my contact from the comic books. They said, "Hey, do you want to have school talks?" Right, because of my work with Lieutenant Adnan and all that. So those are for the kids, right? So of course I said yes. Right? Who wouldn't want to talk and get paid, right? And then yeah. So yeah, but it was a fun opportunity. Yeah. So I went to schools. I spoke to them, but this was all before Enrique the Black, though. But yeah, in a way, there was I had no like particular plan, but I guess I can look into it next time. Yeah. To sell the books in school or even now online or whatever. Yeah. Now there's so many ways to market yourself. I guess YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, or not TikTok is a hashtag called BookTok, so you can try that. Yeah. So yeah, all kinds of ways now in the modern world, I guess, besides the traditional way. Yeah.
Okay, there's a question, right? Did you contact the publishers other than Penguin, and did Penguin request developmental changes that needs parts of the plot that needs to be changed? Yeah.
Oh, well, I mainly went to 2 publishers for at least for this book, Enrique. First was Epigram. Actually, yeah, that's the one. That's the one I sent for they have a yearly fiction prize,
Yes.
which
Yes.
I failed twice. So
Yes.
that one was I was that close to being published by them one time. Then they said we might want to consider publishing a novel, and then they backtracked and said no, probably not. This is what's wrong with the book. So yeah, so
Right.
that's when I started rewriting. Yeah, to based on their suggestion, in fact. And then
Right.
I approached Penguin because the timing was just right. Yeah, because before that there was locally I can remember I tried to hit up Monsoon Books, Epigram. These are the main 2 I tried to hit up at first.
Right.
Yeah,
So
and then now Penguin. Yeah.
they give you a page, right? The epigram people give you a page of sort of suggestions and stuff.
Like an email. Yeah.
Right. That's very good.
Yeah.
And that's when Dawn tell you that let me recommend Penguin or something, right? That's
I knew Don from another friend, so
right.
yeah. Yeah, he was a
Right.
writer as well. So yeah,
It's very helpful to
sometimes it's
have
just lucky.
knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, a friend of a friend of a friend. I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Norman
Yeah,
had
so
a
one
question.
question,
Yeah.
Danny.
Okay. That's
Great to see you. I just had a question on
I
about your voice in Enrique the Black. It seemed like the voice is quite modern, right? And it's probably your natural voice. So as in the writer's voice, the book is historical. So yeah, I'd like you to share your thoughts on, did you try to modify, bring it, what did you do with your voice? Kind of, did you try to make it more dated, or did you just go with your natural flow?
mainly natural flow, but yeah, if you talk about historical or there's a lot of I want to mention who wrote Wolf Hall. Was it Hilary Mantel or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she also sounds very modern, and I think she wrote in present tense. In fact, I could be wrong, but I think there's some bits where a lot of writers write historical fiction now in present tense. Like it keeps you in the moment, because like past tense feels very like old school and old timey, but like present tense, it's set in a modern fashion, because like if you read old stuff now, like Fitzgerald or Dickens or whatever, very 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 rich thick language, right? So it's a bit hard to get through. Or even the one I couldn't get through was Poe, Edgar Allan Poe. right? It's so hard to read through because the English is so thick, right? But yeah, but now for modern readers, they just need something more very, very natural. And a lot of British writers also write in very natural English, like as little big words as possible. You know, the simpler the English, the better. You know, then you can get into larger concepts, you know, or larger emotional concepts. Yeah, the simpler the English, the better. And, you know, it just keeps flowing better if you just write in a more natural voice, I guess. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you for that. It does.
Thank you.
I also had a question.
Right.
I found it very interesting, the character Enrique, his relationship to the languages. I found fascinating because it resembles my relationship with the languages. But I was wondering where it came from. Like, you know, the process you describe in how he acquires languages and how it clicks at some point in his mind and all that is exactly how it happened for me, for many languages. So I just wanted to know where you got that from, and is it your own experience, or did you just imagine this, or did you see this?
Oh yeah, I think the answer to most things is a bit of both. A bit of my imagination and a bit of my own fascination with languages. Yeah, I'm the only language I'm proficient at is English, right? But being Singaporean, I know a bit of Chinese. I know Malay. That's my second. That's my second language. My cultural language is Malay. I know a bit of here and there from working. Yeah, I work at the airport, so yeah, I meet a lot of people and hear a lot of things. So yeah, I was very fascinated by just trying to learn because I myself don't know how to start learning a language fresh, you know. But Enrique does somehow. Yeah, he's met people, he spoke to people, he has a good ear for it. You know, he keeps repeating the words and again. Yeah, so it's partly my own fascination and partly imagination and yeah, partly real life. Yeah. I'm glad you
what you said
it,
what you said in the beginning about you know, how the religion can influence or maybe change someone. It's also true of culture, it's also true of languages. They will alter the way you see the world.
Yes. There's this movie called Arrival. Have you seen that movie? The one the aliens come and yeah, basically there was I think Kit might know this one. It's called the Sapir-Whorf theory. It's basically like how you what the language that you speak influences the way you think. Yeah. So yeah, if you think maybe if you speak French, maybe you think in a French kind of way, you know. Or if you speak English, there's a like for me, if I love English, right? So I love the English language. So every time I see funny letters, right, I try to jumble together, you know, because I understand how alphabets work. But if I'm Chinese, I wouldn't have that sense because I don't know how Chinese characters and sounds work. Because Chinese is a very tonal kind of language. So it all depends. So yeah, so language is a very interesting thing, no matter what. Yeah, always a different language means a different, not only a way of thinking, but different kind of culture. It's so deep, right? It goes so far back. Yeah.
Right. Yes, Kate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, like, who would be like your favorite authors or influencers?
Well, I used to love this is an author called Jonathan Lethem. He wrote Fortress of Solitude. Let me see now. Yeah, he wrote a lot of sci-fi books in the beginning of his career, and then he's writing more serious books now. Yeah, Fortress of Solitude, Chronic City. Those are my favorite two books from him. And then I got into Murakami about maybe 13 years ago. Yeah, I read his short story collections, and then I started reading his novels. Yeah, he's good too. Yeah. Let me think now. Yeah. Oh, I love Fitzgerald from Great Gatsby. I've said his name like 4 times now, I think. Yeah. Because his sentences are very short, precise, and painful. Yeah. So those are the kind of writers that I like. Yeah.
Okay. Once again, I like to thank Danny for joining us on this conversation on this Hari Raya, and I'm sure the time is very precious for you, and you want to like join your family for your celebrations and your event today. So thank you very much for joining us, and to all of you who come onto this video or this channel, and please press like if you enjoy the conversation here. Goodbye for now. Yeah.